Wife and her. And then the first movie Dad ever took me to when I was 5 was Return of the Jedi. And I've always loved this romantic quality of my father. You know, I admire how this same love of lore and history started him on his writing path. And his first work was about the historical possibilities of the Ramayana. And he began that in 1997 as I was starting college. You know, and he was still an electrical engineer at that point. And he spent, but like as soon as he got into it, you know, he started spending all of his free time in his basement study. And over the years, he's been hard at work on any number of historical texts, you know, and his deep inquiries. And you know, he's come a long way. When he started, he'd never really taken up a large-scale research project, but he's always had this passion for these stories, you know. And I love, he's my father, so I can listen to an extent, and then I tune out, unfortunately. But I get the gist, you know. That Dad is such a detailed mind that, you know, he has an inexhaustible supply of information. And you know, I mean, like the way he told me this story, he's got so succinct in telling these things. You know, it's really beautiful. And you know, they say that when somebody really knows a subject, they can teach you very simply. And Dad was able to do that when I asked him about what his thesis was. Basically, like a Game of Thrones type of story. You know, this great commander basically puts himself into exile after losing a tremendous battle way up north, you know, and all the political fallout and repercussion of that, and to the point where my dad met this wonderful family and became a part of their family, as he does things like that. And, you know, did serious scientific research, historical research, you know, so let me skip ahead, because I definitely got off track here. Yeah, you know, Dad's never been afraid to learn and to put himself out there. And I've seen him develop into a wonderful and precise historian over these last 20 some odd years. So that when his friend Rachin Sonalkar suggested he pursue a Ph.D. on this story, you know, he was willing to give it a go. And I could not be prouder of Sarjerao Deshmukh. And you know, he's been recognized. Yeah, let's. This Ph.D. he's received, you know, his Doctor of Philosophy from Shivaji University in Kolhapur is a recognition of this journey that he's been on, you know, and you know, I think the thing I'd like to say is that it's a beautiful marker of the path that he's been on actively these last 22 years, and it's certainly not the end of that path. And I look forward to hearing about what my dad's going to dive into next. So, you know, with that, I'd like to. Prakash is coming in? Yeah, let's bring up Prakash. We're out of more.
I see we have a very diverse group here. So I really don't know in what language to talk, because I don't know any language as such where I have a mastery. So anyway, from time to time I'll be just jumping from language to language. Anyway, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming here together to listen to me. Oh, my wife said not to you. They are all here for Sarjerao. So Sarjerao, I don't know what to say. Dr. Sarjerao Deshmukh. Your hard work, tenacity and dedication, I'm totally natamastak to you. I'm sure this is the first time you have heard me talking so respectfully to you. That is because we go way back. We were together in school. It so happened, almost 30 years back, I was trying to get the names of the Marathi people to raise funds for the movie Veer Savarkar. And we were just new to this area, and someone gave name Deshmukh to my wife. So she could call Deshmukh family. And afterward I was in the office, she said, you know, there is one Sarjerao Deshmukh in our area. Maybe he can come over for Babasaheb Purandare's lecture. So I said, Sarjerao Deshmukh, it immediately clicked my mind. I said, it must be my Sarja, I said, from school. And she said, what are you talking about? His wife said, Sarjerao Deshmukh is doing the lawn movie. I said, so what? He must be my Sarja. Why don't you call her back and ask whether he is the Sarja from Jayasree Model Senior High School? And that's what it turned out to be. Anyway, so that was some small anecdote, I must say. And when after sort of, I wouldn't say retirement, but when he changed over from his career to this Ph.D., because as such he never retired. Okay, so don't say that he started his Ph.D. after retirement. No, this fellow has never retired and he is not going to retire, no matter what. That's the way he is, you know. And when he started his Ph.D., I in fact gave him Ph.D. almost 4 or 5 years back. But some of you may not know that in between he almost gave up because the Shivaji University gave him so much problem, and I was used to keep track, and one day he said, you know what, I don't think I'm going to pursue anymore. And I felt so bad, and if I remember correctly, Sarja, that day I blasted you also for giving up. But I knew this was just temporary. And he overcame all those hurdles, and ultimately now he is Dr. Sarjerao Deshmukh. I am so proud of you, Sarja. I cannot fully express in words. And here I want to give you a message from Babasaheb Purandare. Because the day before yesterday, if you remember, I called you and I said, tell me something about the subject in which you have done your research. And you bravely gave me, fully knowing I wouldn't understand a word what you were saying. So anyway, I transmitted whatever you said to Babasaheb, and he was so happy. And his exact words are, सर्जेरावांना सांगा मला अतिशय आनंद झालाय, इतिहासात रिसर्च करणारे आम्हाला फार लोक भेटत नाही, त्यांना म्हणावं मला येऊन जरूर भेटा, आणि त्यांचा जो विषय आहे, meaning his subject is a sort of a mysterious subject. There is a mystery involved, you know. And knowing fully that this is a subject, not with much clarity, he did his PhD. That shows his greatest achievement in that historic aspect of our history. Lastly, I just want to make one point. When I became engineer, someone told my grandmother, Maji Aji. Now she was a very old lady, frail. She couldn't see that time much. But she knew that probably I did something, you know, which made everybody proud. So she asked me, you know what? मला कळलं तुला काहीतरी सर्टिफिकेट मिळालं. म्हटलं हो आजी, I got some certificate, you know. So I said, मला एक सर्टिफिकेट मिळालं. म्हटलं बरोबर आहे का आजी, आता तू एक काम कर, वाणिज्याचा जगदीश आहे, मला वाटतं तो तुझ्या बरोबरीचाच आहे. 2 वर्षापूर्वी तो मॅट्रिक झाला. तू आता बाबा एकदा केव्हा तरी मॅट्रिक हो लवकर. तो सर्जा, मला तुला एकच सांगायचं आहे. आय जस्ट वॉन्ट टू टेल यू वन थिंग. एनीबडी कॅन डू PhD. इट्स नॉट ए बिग थिंग. पण तू बाबा लवकरात लवकर मॅट्रिक हो म्हणजे झालं.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Just in brief, I got a letter from Khanu. She sent it so that I could read it here. So because she could not come, that's our daughter who is in California, and she didn't come. She wanted to come, but we are going in 2 more days. We'll be meeting her, and it would have been, too much, not practical, and all that. So this is her message. Hi everyone. I wish I could be there to celebrate with my dad. I'm here in spirit. Dad, I'm really proud of your accomplishment, and this is one of many. You have climbed mountains, literally, and to me, that's really neat. You and Mom came to this country young, finished school, worked hard. That showed me courage and strength. Your social work and helping children and even others, getting back to your own education and completing your Ph.D, I'm inspired. You have always been a wonderful father, and you have my love and affection today and every day. So proud of you. Love, Kanu.
Said I should introduce myself. I hope that's not necessary. Welcome all.
Mayur is the man.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that's better. I can hear myself too.
I know.
Welcome all. Hello, hello. Yeah, that's fine. I think this is going to be a difficult task. At this table, can you see what's here?
Yeah.
How about this end? Okay. Welcome all. We have lost 2 wonderful friends in last 4 months. Both have left a great legacy in their own ways. And now we will observe a 30-second silence for Ramesh Jetwa and Sarjerao Deshmukh. Thank you. Summary of my talk. What I'm going to say is left on every seat. Hope you have a chance to read. If not, you'll have to learn as I go along. My Ph.D. Thesis title was Peshwa Sadashivrao Bhau, Myth and Reality, a Historical Perspective. It's too cumbersome, so I would like to reduce it or rephrase it to Post-Panipat Peshwa Sadashivrao Bhau, real or an impostor. In summary, you have already seen it. The hypothesis is about an event from 14 January 1761 related to the Third Battle of Panipat. Am I breaking up?
No, you're okay.
The battle was between the Afghan forces under Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas defending the Mughal interests in North India. In this battle, the Marathas experienced a huge defeat with the loss of a young prince and 70,000 men in a day and a half. Bhau Peshwa was the commander of the Maratha forces. After the war at home, there was a conspiracy against him, and the real Bhau was declared an impostor and was prevented from coming back home. For the last 258 years, the common sense belief is that Bhau perished in the battle, while my research suggests that he survived and his line still exists as Bhau Desai family in Gujarat, away from the home state. I would like to explain how this PhD work started. It was 20 years ago. My mama was visiting from India, and he said there is a Bhau Desai family in Gujarat. I immediately wondered if the family was connected to Bhau Peshwa of the Third Battle of Panipat. Finally, I was able to find this family, and after 5 years, in December 2004, I visited them at Nadia. I was introduced to a Desai family spokesperson, a 64-year-old civil engineer, fondly known as Virubhai. In the very first field trip, I was able to establish chronological and cultural correlation of this family with Bhau Peshwa. At the end of this visit, based on what I saw and heard, I said to Virubhai, quote, "What if I tell you that you belong to the Peshwas of Pune?" Apparently annoyed by my fast assessment, Virubhai abruptly denied my claim by saying, "We are Gujarati Patidars and we don't have anything to do with Pune." In Gujarati, he said, "અમે તો ગુજરાતી પાટીદાર છીએ, અમારે પૂના સાથે કાંઈ લેવા દેવા નથી, અમારી કોઈ લેનદેન है नहीं પૂના के साथ." Then in December 2004, after returning home, I completed my field trip report, and that was in December, and in January I sent a copy to Virubhai, and in 2 months later I went to see him. This time, Virubhai admitted that all these years, he and his family members have been banking wrongly on the origin of their family. He agreed with my hypothesis and helped me with the possibility of bringing an outsider into family. Later on, at our home, our friend Ranjan Sonarkar, after browsing through my report, casually said that I should apply for a PhD on this subject. After some inquiries, Shivaji University at Kolhapur, with the due diligence by Research and Review Committee, accepted me in the PhD program in April 2006, and the journey began. It wasn't easy. Before I start, I would like to introduce to you some names, events, and titles you're going to hear. First of all, who are the Marathas? These are the folks of Western India mentioned in a 7th century travel log by a Chinese traveler. And Grand Duff, an English term. he says that Marathas were the single largest power in India before English took charge of it. The next person I'm going to introduce is Chhatrapati Shivaji. He was the founder of the Maratha state that grew into an empire under his grandson Chhatrapati Shahu. After Shivaji's death, it was a very crucial period. His son became head of the Maratha state and defended his kingdom against the mighty Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, who came upon the Marathas with the entire Agra treasury and army at his disposal. Aurangzeb eventually Chhatrapati Sambhaji fought for 6 years. Eventually he was captured and killed by the emperor. Then in a siege of the Maratha capital, he captured the king's wife and 7-year-old son and held them captive. I must say that he treated them very well. The Emperor Aurangzeb spent 26 years to achieve his goal of conquering the Marathas, but failed miserably. He died in the Maratha land, permanently weakening the Mughal Empire, giving rise to the Maratha power in Hindustan. Hindustan in those days meaning the India above the river Narmada. The Maratha Prince Shahu, in the Mughal captivity since for 18 years, was released by the new emperor after Aurangzeb's death. The purpose was to divide the Maratha factions to prevent anti-Mughal activities in Deccan. Deccan is Dakhan or the south. Next inquiry is, who are the Peshwas? During Chhatrapati Shahu's rule in 1713, he created a new title of Peshwa as the chief administrator, and it was given to a highly capable Brahmin commander, Balaji Vishwanath Bhatt. The title remained in his family for 105 years until 1818. Now I'm going to briefly explain the Mughal-Maratha relationship. After Balaji becoming the Peshwa, in 1719, he established a treaty of friendship and mutual cooperation with the Mughal court, and the Marathas became the defenders of the Mughal interests in the north. That gave rise to Afghan-Maratha conflict. The Afghan-Maratha conflict grew with the rising Maratha influence in the Mughal court. Rohilla Afghans saw the Marathas as a threat to their interests. In the first battle of Panipat, the Afghan Sultan Ibrahim Khan Lodi had lost Delhi to Babur, a Mughal invader. The Indian Afghans wanted to avenge the loss and regain Delhi. At that time, to counter their activities, the Mughal Wazir Saftarjung sought Maratha help, and the Rohillas invited Ahmad Shah Abdali, the ruler of Afghanistan. This was the onset of the Afghan-Maratha conflict. The next inquiry is, what is Panipat? It is a city located 55 miles northwest of Delhi. Panipat used to be the first line of defense to guard Delhi. The first fight used to take place at Panipat. There have been 3 famous battles of Panipat. The first one was 1526, second in 1556, and the third battle in 1761 between the Afghans and the Marathas. And my work is related to one of the events from this battle. The next inquiry is, who is Bhau? He was the commander-in-chief of the Maratha forces against the Afghans that ended up in the third battle of Panipat. Bhau was the first cousin of the ruling Peshwa. He was an able financial administrator and a great warrior too. And despite his failure at Panipat, he's my hero. He failed because some people at home wanted him to fail. They withheld assistance. Many of you have seen the Bollywood film Sarjerao Deshmukh Parsippanny. Here, Bajirao was the second Peshwa who took the Maratha standard to the gates of Delhi and subdued many, with 40 battles to his credit without a loss. Bhau was the son of Bajirao's younger brother. The next inquiry is why Marathas ended up at Panipat from their home base some 700-800 miles away. People often ask this question. The Afghan Maratha conflict was on the rise as the Marathas were defending the Mughal territory against them. In this struggle, the Afghan forces had killed a Maratha general, Dattaji Sindhya, near Delhi defending the Mughals. To avenge Dattaji's death, Bhau led the Maratha army in March of 1760 against the Rohilla Afghans and Ahmad Shah Abdali. The Marathas reached Delhi in August, and in October they attacked a place called Kunjpura north of Delhi, where Dattaji's killer was. They conquered the fort, but the Afghans in the Doab region, Ganga Yamuna Doab region, they crossed the river Yamuna in flood and blocked the Maratha return back to Delhi. From Kunjpura, the Marathas drifted to and settled at Panipat on the western canal of the Yamuna River. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the Battle of Panipat. The Marathas start at Kunjpura behind Abdali to their south. They drifted to Panipat. There they waited for a political resolution from October 1760 to 14 January 1761. With the coming of winter, the weather was becoming favorable to the Afghans but unfriendly to the tropical Marathas. Frigid rains came down upon the ill-equipped Maratha camp. Shortage of food for men and cattle added to the disaster. Bhau invited his captains to decide whether to surrender or fight. His commanders settled for death than surrender. The last set of ration was distributed. The battle started on the early morning of 14 January 1761. By noon, the Marathas had brought down 12,000 Afghans with their own losses of 8,000. Vishwasrao, the son of Peshwa, the Maratha prince, mounted on an elephant, was observing the field movements and providing instructions to his men in the field. In the early afternoon, a stray bullet or a cannonball hit him. Vishwasrao died instantly. With that, the disaster began for the Marathas. Bhau, the captain of the army, in pain and grief, left his front position and came to Vishwasrao's elephant. He continued to fight till the day ended. No one from the Maratha side saw his death on the field. Multiple Maratha chronicles of the time simply suggest that Bhau vanished, either in the sky or in the ground beneath. The war was over by late afternoon on the first day. Although no one from the Maratha side saw his fatality, Bhau's death is a foregone conclusion based on a letter of questionable accuracy written 6 weeks after the war. Next, I'm going to explain what could have happened to Bhau in the battle. Without getting into details, in my opinion as a researcher, I believe that Bhau survived the war and was transported from Panipat to Bharatpur. From here, Bhau seemed to have reached his homeland. Now, the conspiracy started against him. There are many hints on Bhau survival at Panipat, but I will explain just a few significant ones. The first hint is there is a letter of 1761, soon after the war. This letter was written by a reliable Maratha officer in the Delhi vicinity, inviting Bhau to a wedding of April-March time frame. This shows that the Maratha official around Delhi was aware that Bhau Sahib lived after the war and knew his whereabouts. Then there are two letters from 11 months after the war noting Bhau Sahib's arrival in Khandesh in northern Maharashtra, his homeland. By this time, the Peshwa had died, the ruling Peshwa had died. The new administration at home did not want Bhau Sahib in the power sharing equation. So the administrators declared him an impostor and detained him in Khandesh for over 3 years. With Bhau Sahib's arrival in his homeland, the Pune officials deliberately created and declared another person in Bundelkhand near Jhansi in North India as real Bhau Sahib. This was done to confuse the masses. So the impostor was created at this point. A play title, Totayache Band, I don't know how many of you have heard, but there was a play written by a very scholarly person. He was editor of history with Lokmanya Tilak. Name is Nachikelkar. So a play called Totayache Band, or The Impostor's Report, was written and enacted in 1913. That seemed to have sealed the fate of Post-Panipat Bhau Sahib as an impostor. The effect of this play was so convincing that even today, any mention of the Post-Panipat Bhau Sahib is equated to the impostor created by the Pune administrators. Again, in my opinion, the person detained in Khandesh was the real Bhau Sahib, and the one declared to be real from Bundelkhand was an impostor. Eventually, the real and impostor both were arrested and sent to Pune. At Pune, the impostor was displayed to the public. He was placed before them. The viewers declared him an impostor. Now both the real and impostor were imprisoned and regularly shifted from one fort to another to hide their identity and maintain their secrecy, so that nobody would know who is who. 10 years later, the prisoner was shifted to mirrors. The family members of the nearest commander, including their mother, spoke that the person was real Bhau Sahib. So the prisoner was moved to Ratnagiri. The commander at Ratnagiri also declared him to be real Bhau Sahib and freed him. Then, so these are some of the hints about his post-Panipat existence. And as a last hint on his survival, it is worth noting that his wife did not live like a widow. The widows used to have shaven hair, and they used to wear reddish maroon sari. So she did not do any of those. She always maintained her attire fitting to a woman whose husband was still alive. She wore mangalsutra, bangles, and sindoor. In those days of extreme orthodoxy, neither the two Peshwas nor the Chief Justice of the Maratha state asked her to change her lifestyle to match that of a widow. These are some of the hints on Post-Panipat Bhau Sahib's survival. What happened to Bhau Sahib after he was released from Ratnagiri? The Ratnagiri commander released him. So what happened? A force of 22,000 men joined him. With this army, he came to in the vicinity of Pune, and the Pune administrators panicked. They sent a huge force to counter him. He was unable to resist such a large entity and withdrew into Konkan, which is the coastal area. In October 1776, 16 years after the Panipat War, he was arrested on the scene as he was on his way to seek the East India Company's help. This was Bhau Sahib's second arrest. In my opinion, after this arrest, the real Bhau Sahib was freed and let go with funds, with an understanding that he should go into exile. This was done to avoid further clashes. then Bhau Sahib seemed to have lived in exile in Gujarat, most likely at a place called Chota Udaipur in the eastern part of Gujarat. Now, my story shifts to Bhau Sahib's exile in Gujarat. There are many pointers to show his presence in Gujarat. The first one is that even today, there exists a highly respected household in central Gujarat, widely known as Bhau Sahib Desai family. They live at Nadia between Baroda and Ahmedabad. To me, this name Bhau Sahib in Gujarat was the first giveaway of their Peshwa connection. This was in 1999. The noun Bhau, meaning a brother, is not a Gujarati expression. Bhau, Gujaratis don't use. The Gujarati equivalent term is Bhai. So the word Bhau in the Bhau Sahib Desai family is a clear giveaway of its Marathi origin. This name Bhau Sahib in the Patidar family, Patidars are Patels or they are agriculturists. This name Bhau Sahib in the Patidar family seems to have come from an adoption of Bhau Sahib's son in exile. With this likely adoption, Bhau Sahib must have given his wealth and personal insignia to this Patidar family. After the arrival of an unknown child into the Desai family in 1783, which seems to be Bhau Sahib's son, I have established some important research markers to show the link between the Brahmin Peshwas and the Gujarati Patidar family. The first marker is that there is a chronological fit of events for almost 100 years since the Panipat War in 1761. The family kept its identity secret until the last Peshwa at Pune was deposed in 1818. After that, the family named a child born in 1825 as Bhau Sahib, that would be the grandson of Bhau Sahib Peshwa. And by naming this child Bhau Sahib, in a way, the Desais declared their Peshwa connection. Then there is a very strong cultural link. The examples are many. Firstly, the Gujaratis, they worship Krishna. So they are Vaishnavites. So in Vaishnavite Gujarat, this particular Patidar family shows preference to Ganesh worship. And Ganesh was the family deity of the Peshwas. The next point is Gujarati Patidar men don't wear janev. Janev is a sacred thread usually worn by Brahmins. While the earlier men of the Bhau Sahib Desai family wore a janev, a large red tika on their forehead, and wore a red paddi like the Brahmins of Pune once did. I have seen Bhau Sahib Desai families' wedding invitations from late 1800s to 2007. They are all written in Marathi script, but it reads a Gujarati message. The family cannot explain why, except that it's their tradition. The family has a meditation room in their cellar, which is uncommon with the agriculturist Patidar community. With the meditation doesn't go with the people in agriculture profession. Even today, the Desai family boys insist on wearing a headgear called mandil on their wedding. Bhau Sahib Peshwa had the honor of wearing a mandil he received from the Chhatrapati of Satara, and this mandil, as his insignia, he must have given to the Desai family at the time of adoption of his son. Bhau Sahib Desai in Gujarat had 4 sons. Each son had a Maharashtrian alias. This is uncommon. The aliases were like, the eldest was Rao Sahib, then Anna Sahib, Bapu Sahib, Nana Sahib, and so on. Some of the sons have 2 Marathi aliases. Here the attention must be paid to the alias Rao Sahib for the eldest son of Bhau Sahib Desai. In the Peshwa days, starting with Bajirao the Great. He was the eldest among his siblings. He was called Rao, short for Rao Sahib. Bajirao's eldest grandson Vishwasrao was also addressed as Rao Sahib. So Bhau Sahib Desai's eldest son with an alias Rao Sahib cannot be a mere coincidence. Also, one of the aliases among the Bhau Sahib Desai's sons is Nana Sahib, pointing towards Nana Sahib Peshwa. Finally, as circumstantial or indirect evidence, the Bhau Sahib Desai family has the world's largest home of 250 rooms. It is 3-story dwelling all around the perimeter, built on 2.5 acre plinth area. It's 107,000 square feet plinth area, 3-story apartment building. The residence is built there. The Desai home of 250 rooms is the second largest dwelling in India after the Rashtrapati Bhavan, or the President's House, with 700 rooms. An agriculturist patidar cannot acquire nor has such credentials of physical wealth unless funded by some royalty. Again, the Ganesh worship on the main entrance door to the Bhau Sahib Desai dwelling signifies their Peshwa lineage. So based on the fitting chronology of timeline, cultural similarity and physical wealth that Bhau Sahib Desai of Nadia have, shows a strong connection of this family with the royalty, and that would be Bhau Sahib Peshwa in exile in Gujarat. Earlier I had said that Bhau Sahib stayed at Chota Udaipur in Gujarat during his exile. This hint comes from the fact that Tatya Tope visited Chota Udaipur and then Nadia. So the next question is, who is this Tatya Tope? In the 1857 war that Queen of Jhansi fought, so in 1857 war, Tatya Tope was one of the commanders under the Queen of Jhansi. He came to Chota Udaipur after the war as a fugitive. His likely purpose was to meet Bhau Sahib's descendants for financial help. Apparently, from Chota Udaipur, he was directed to Bhau Sahib Desai at Nadia. Did we see the memorial hospital? Yeah. This horse memorial exists at Chota Udaipur, and there is an inscription. It says, "From the horse," but this horse monument is dedicated to Tatya Tope's horse, and he had camped on the river. The other side is Madhya Pradesh, this side is Gujarat, and there's a dry riverbed. So now the question is, how and why Tatya Tope came to a Gujarati family in Nadia for help rather than visiting any of the Maratha commanders after the war? The answer could be found within the Maratha camp at Vitur. Vitur is a place on the Ganges outside Kanpur. After the Third Anglo-Maratha War of 1818, the last ruling Peshwa at Pune was deposed. He chose Vitur for his exile. With him, he took 1,000 dependent families. They are called Ashrit families. Dependent families. In this Maratha camp in exile, the names like Mani Nevalkar, later to be the Queen of Jhansi, plus Tatya Tope and many others were born, and there they grew to their adulthood. In this Maratha camp, the knowledge of the Post-Panipat Bhau must have been in circulation. Without such knowledge, Tatya Tope, after the 1857 war, could not and would not have come to Chota Udaipur and then to Nadia to meet Bhau Desai for help. This Bhau Desai is supposedly the grandson of Bhau Peshwa. By now, I'm finished with my storytelling, and I would like to explain Two more things. Sources I have used in this research. The primary sources are the latest or documents contemporary of that time, 1730 to 1818. Secondary sources are a long list of textbooks, and the third sources, one of the third sources is called Lokmat. Lokmat is public opinion, and these include the novels based on some of the historical events. Difficulty in research, there are many. Firstly, the Peshwa. It's a humongous volume of records. They have 80 million letters and one cannot access them all. Other sources from the native states in Maharashtra and from outside Maharashtra were not accessible. And for a researcher from Deccan, from South, the Persian records from the Mughal court are impossible to put hands on. So these were some of the difficulties. And about my PhD work, my devotion started in April of 2006. I became a wanderer after the thesis was approved. I had to wait for 7 more years to get a date for Viva. Finally, in May 2018, I got a date for Viva, and along with Pratibha and my family members at Pune and Kolhapur, I attended convocation ceremony on 22nd February 2019. That is the story of my PhD journey. I would like to, Shailendra asked me why I didn't invite him. Sorry Shailendra, not knowing where you were in India and with poor phone connectivity, I could not inform you of the convocation. Now I know you were just 2.5 hours away from Kolhapur and would have attended the ceremony. I'm sorry that we missed your presence. Also, I want to thank many people, my guide, Dr. Madhav Patil, Ranjan Sonakar for his suggestion to do PhD, late Shashi Sari. She translated some of the Haryanvi ballads or the songs for me. Then Meela Wagmare for interpreting and validating my interpretations of some of the cryptic letters from Peshwa. Neelaka and Pratibha for their encouragement. Rajendra Parshikar, a friend, he treats me like his brother in Indore, for his non-stop efforts to seek political and academic help to bring an end to this impasse. And another gentleman, some older gentleman in Pune, for writing to so many to give justice to my case. He wrote letters to the retired Supreme Court Justice, also the Chief Minister and Education Minister of Maharashtra and many MPs, and many more. So this was the journey of my study, and thank you all for listening. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, but if you want to go ahead with food, that's fine too.
Who was Mastani?
Mastani was a princess.
She's a character, she's a real person.
Yes, she's a real person. She was a princess. She was a daughter of Chhatrasal Bundela. Chhatrasal Bundela was the king of Bundelkhand, and he had taken to Pranani Dharam. And according to the tenets of Pranani Dharam, he had to marry the local princess, whoever he conquered. So he had defeated a Nawab, and he ended up marrying his daughter. From that union, Mastani Bhai was born. Her name was Savitri. लाड पे हमें उनको मस्तानी बुलाते थे, but her real name was Savitri. And when Bajirao Peshwa was in Hindustan and Chhatrasal Bundela came under the attack from Muhammad Shah Bangash, this was around 1730 time frame, and Chhatrasal Bundela wrote couplet in Bundeli to Bajirao. He said, "Jo gati Gajendra ki." Gajendra is the elephant of goddess Lakshmi, and he is trapped. A crocodile has caught his foot, and the crocodile is pulling the elephant into the deep waters. So he says, "Jo gati gajendra ki, sohi gat pavat aaj, baji jaat bundel ki rakho baji raj." So Bajirao went with the Maratha forces and got rid of Muhammad Shah Bangash. For this service, he gave his daughter Mastani to Bajirao in marriage. Yes.
Can I ask you two questions?
Yeah, okay. Can you wait?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why were the Marathas so against Bhau Sahib? I mean,
Because
perhaps a very simple question.
no, it is due to power politics. They didn't want him because he was too smart and he was a good person at heart. He would not have harmed Marathas at home. But the Peshwa, who died in June of 61 after the war, his wife was very much against him. And that was the reason she had to keep an eye on him. She had sent her 18-year-old son Vishwasrao in the expedition going northward. And poor Vishwasrao got killed for no reason. So she thought he will assert the northern territories and her children would not get anything. So when he tried to come back, she was worried that he will take over. So it was her doing, nobody, and her cronies, administrative cronies were with her, and the new Peshwa was a 16-year-old kid, had no experience. His brother was groomed to be the Peshwa. So the new Peshwa, Madhara, although a great Peshwa, for the first 4 years, his mother had held the administration in her command. So she didn't want Bhau back.
First of all, I want to apologize to Pratibha for being a cause for sending you to the basement for 10 years. Sorry. But two questions. Has there been a reaction from the Desai family in from Gujarat? And secondly, how has been the reaction from the people who have always believed that Bhau died in Panipat?
Okay, as I said, Virubai is a very well-trained individual. He is was the spokesperson. He still is there. He's a civil engineer, and when I was introduced to him, and when I saw and heard about this family, immediately in the first field trip alone, I was able to establish a link, time-wise everything fit properly, and also cultural fit. I couldn't bring, how to bring an outsider into the family was my problem, which I couldn't figure it out. So Virubai first denied my claim when I told him that you belong to the Peshwas of Pune. But when he read my field trip report, he turned around and he agreed that my hypothesis is right, and they have been banking on wrong origin of their family. And what was the second question?
How has been the reaction from people who always believed that Bhau died in Panipat?
Okay, the people in academics, they are nasty people. They don't want to accept this. As I said, it was Narchi Kelkar's play in 1913, the revolt by Impostor, or Impostor's revolt, Totayache Bande. That created a mindset. So that misguided, he's a brilliant man with Kesri editor, just imagine, working with Lokmanya Tilak, the prominent leader of the time, and very, very genuinely brilliant man. So when he wrote this play, he didn't have access to all the documents. So 1776, some paperwork he saw. Based on that, he wrote this play. But he biased many people after him, like Sardesai. Sardesai is a top-notch historian. And Sardesai, in his time in 1930s, all the Peshwa Daftar was brought together, and he published 45 big volumes in fine print. They are titled Peshwa Daftara the Nivdak Patre, meaning the letters, selected letters from Peshwa Daftar. And regarding below every Marathi line, Sardesai has given 1 to 5-liner English summary, what the letters say for non-Marathi readers. And in Post-Panipat letters, wherever Bhau's name comes, he writes him as an impostor in his English summary. So first Nachiketa, then Sardesai, and then Datoam Koda. I think these are, these were the events that happened. And when I was doing my Ph.D. For my thesis review, university asked one of the professors from Pune, and she outrightly rejected. She said she doesn't want to review. My guide sent me to head of the history department, Pune University. By that time he was retired. My guide called him and said, my student wants to come and visit you. And he said, for what? When guide said he was working on Post-Panipat Bhau, and he said, unless he has archival proof, I won't see him. If I had archival proof, why would I do the research? So this kind of mindset is still there, and I didn't say this, but when my thesis went out to 2 external referees, one was from Orissa, Sambalpur University, Maratha History Department. He approved it in 4 months. The second one was from Nagpur. He rejected it twice. He wanted again the same thing. He wanted archival proof of this, and he rejected. Then it went to a third referee. But the one who rejected twice, somebody I met from Pune University, and he said, this guy, Yadav Guzar, is going around and telling the world that Bhau lived in Gujarat after his second arrest. So this is the mindset. It's anybody else?
How long did Bhau live in Gujarat?
Okay, we don't know really. It's hard to tell, but my guide had asked me to do astrological consult, and this person did a wonderful job, and he gave his lifespan from 64 to 72 years. So he could have lived anywhere from mid-1790s to early part of 1800s, if this is true. But the guy is genuine and he did a wonderful job. I have about almost 15-20 pages of this consult.
So one statement and one question. One statement, thank you for enlightening us so simply on such a topic that when we were growing up, we knew something about it. And then of course it all resurfaced when we saw this movie, Sarjerao Mastani and all, and read a little, but you have made it so beautifully and simple and laid it out to us that it really seems, wow, what a time of life it was, and what it was really with all your efforts that you've got. Secondly, my question is, how easy was it for you to get a good response from the Maharashtra government or the central government, or did you not need them at all?
Nobody cares. As a matter of fact, really, I have given presentations throughout Maharashtra, about 25 of them, Northern Maharashtra, Mumbai Vidyapit, Pune, Bharat Vidya Sanshodhan Mandal, and many other places. And there is a lot of caste-related issues that go on. And when I went to Dhulia, a place called Dhulia in Northern Maharashtra, where Bhau was detained for 3+ years, I presented at 5 places, and I thought I'd get some help coming forward to guide me, help me, find me additional sources. The people at in academic places, one place they thought I was going to say something anti-Brahmins, and they boycott my presentation. They didn't show up. Another college at Kopergaon, the head of the department, somebody had talked to him and he was going to be there. Last minute, he said he has to go away on some research work and didn't show up. So there is tremendous apathy, and this will change the post-Panipat history of the Marathas. If this becomes accepted, it's not one person's job. There's too much documentation, too many things to look at, and you don't have access to everything. Yeah.
So Sarjerao, to me, the story comes home. I used to play cricket in the backyard of Shanmarwada.
Yes.
So by mistakenly known as Shivaji and Sakila. Shivaji never set his foot in that fort, and was Peshwa for this thing. My question is, when Bhau Sahib was on exile, who was in control of the Peshwa Empire in Pune at that time?
See, as I said, Nana Sahib was Peshwa during the Battle of Panipat, and his son of Bajirao the Great. Now, Nana Sahib, he lost his son, which was a young and very talented, brave warrior. He lost him, and so he was on his way to help the Marathas stranded behind the Afghani line, but he got there late. So while he was at Bhopal, on 18 January 1761, he got the news of the Maratha defeat, and he spent 2 months in search of Bhau Sahib. He accepted his son's death, but he was not sure. He thought Bhau Sahib was still alive, based on some of the information. Then he came to Pune. He left Bhopal around 20th of March 1761, and he died, I think, on 26th June 1761 at Pune at Parvati. And after that, his inexperienced son, 16-year-old Madhavrao, he became the Peshwa. And since he didn't have experience, his mother took the reins of the Maratha statehood. Madhavrao. Gopika. Okay.
Not
So,
Shinde. Madhavrao Shinde, right?
Then Madhavrao Shinde is different. Madhavrao Peshwa.
Peshwa.
He was Grand Duff in his praise. Grand Duff says he died very young. At the age of 28 he died. And Grand Duff says that the loss of this young prince has caused more damage to the Marathas than the loss in the plains of Panipat. So Madhavrao was a great Peshwa, but first 4 years he had no experience. And his mother dominated everything. She controlled the Maratha state.
What happened to his wife?
Bhau Sahib's wife? Bhau Sahib's wife, Parvati Bai, said that she knew that her husband was alive. That's why she lived like a woman with Mangalsutra, kumkum, bangles, which was, nobody ever told. I mean, there were some factions which wanted her to shave off her head, but the two ruling Peshwas of her time and the Chief Justice, Ramshastri Prabhune, didn't ask her to change. Ramshastri Prabhune is the one who gave death sentence to his boss, the Peshwa Raghunath Rao, and he could have easily stopped her from living like a married woman. But she died in 1783. That time coincides with Bhau Sahib's son, born in Gujarat, and he was adopted into the Desai family.
Would you recommend them getting DNA or genetic testing or anything?
I tried to do DNA. I have about 20 buccal samples from the inside the cheek, and when I was doing my work, it was very expensive.
You did it on Mastani Advisors.
Yes, so I had collected 25 samples. So this Bhau Sahib Desai in Gujarat, Bhau Sahib's grandfather was Prabhudas. Prabhudas had two brothers, Desai Bhai and Dwarkadas, and their father was Shankardas. So the three brothers, Desai Bhai, Prabhudas and Dwarkadas. So I had taken samples from all three of them, and also samples from Mastani Bhai Sahib's lineage in Indore. And those buccal samples, I still have them. I have not been able to do the DNA. We tried to do, this friend of mine, Rajendra, in Indore. He has been so much, with me on this issue. On his own, he got few samples and sent them to Hyderabad through DNA, and that failed. So I don't know exactly what has happened, and it is possible because Mastani Bhai Sahib's line at Indore, coming from Samsher Bandar, there could be some adoptions. If adoptions are there, so I'll have to shift the focus. I could use Mastani Bhai Sahib's line also, as well as there is Raj Machikar in Pune. They are Bajirao's father's brother's line. So I'll have to, it's expensive. At that time it was very expensive, so I couldn't, somebody tried to, he said he'll help me. But the person in genetics who were supposed to read, they refused to read. They said because of the court litigations and all that, if they are called into court for property matters, then they are stuck. So nobody wanted to touch this. So, somebody had
एक लाइन में कहना है कि दिक्कतों से आया, देर से आया, बट आपका PhD दुरुस्त आया।
I'm trying to imagine your first meeting with this Desai family. Can you sort of tell us how that happened? And they must have been so, I don't know, shocked, surprised. Like did you just show up at their door? Like, how did it happen?
Okay. I was looking for, after 1999, my mama told me about this family. So I visited India in, I think, 2000. So I said to him, let's go find this family. So he thought the family was from a place called Saudi near Baroda. So he called his contacts and they said, call us in the night, we'll get some older people and we will tell you when to come. So in the night when my mama called, they said people are no longer there who can talk about it. So I lost the interest and I knew the place Saudi. And from my cricket days, my senior friend, Bhupaji Desai, I knew he was from Saudi. So one time I happened to see him in 2001, the day before 9/11. And I said to him, I want to come and talk to you. He said, for what? And I said, I want to meet Bhau Desai family. I was told they are from Saudi. He said, you're talking to a wrong person, but you've come to the right place. My wife, he said, his wife belongs to Bhau Desai family. And he said, whenever you are ready, you can call him, I should call him and she will take me. So by that time I was about to publish my first book, Ramayana, A Fact or Fiction. So I didn't have time. And then in 2004 December, I said to Bhupaji that I want to go visit this family. And I had asked so many people to find this family. So I thought I owe it to them. By that time I had lost my interest. I didn't have any interest. And I said I'll simply go there and declare that there's no merit to my original hunch. But when I saw my friend Bhupaji's wife, Mayaben, had already talked to Virubhai. So he was expecting me, and I was not very keen by that time. But since so many people had worked on this, I had to go. I went, and what I saw, I just couldn't believe. Virubhai, as I said, first, there's a chronological fit and cultural fit. I said to him, you belong to the Peshwas of Pune, and he said, we have nothing to do with Pune. So their first reaction was that, and when he read my field trip report, then he helped me how an outsider could have come into the family. And that was in 1783, an unknown child came into family, Prabhudas's wife, at an advanced stage when she could not bear children. So she comes from her Maika with a newborn child, saying that she has a biological son of her own. And this is Bhau's son. And with that, Prabhudas started buying properties and he built this 250-room house. So an agriculturist cannot acquire this kind of wealth. And Subodh, his bhabhi is from that family too. His older brother's wife. So she belongs to Bhau Desai family as well, and they are very well respected. They are,
It is a tremendous effort and a tremendous achievement to do what you have done. And I would find very, very few people who would go against a belief which is so very prevalent and so very strong. And as you have faced, not only in terms of opposition of even the guides, so-called guides in academies, but to go ahead and raise questions is itself a phenomenal effort. But having said that, when you're showing it to me, what struck me is a couple of things. One was the headgear, which is, kind of resembles the Gaikwad Pagdi. So I was wondering why that Gaikwad Pagdi kind of thing, association is there. And second, when wealth, those days, when wars used to be fought, wealth had to be moved. And wealth to move those days, we didn't have banks, we cannot do a transfer. So wealth was actually physically moved. And so there were people who used to be in charge of that. And after the third Panipat battle, how would have the wealth would have been moved? Because the wealth was in possession with somebody. And it is important because at that time when you have no power, Bhau had no power, how did he manage to keep the wealth in check to be able to do it?
Okay. The first question, his first question was, the Pagdi he saw, the mandir at wedding time, that was Virubai's father's wedding in 1925. So I had asked Virubai, where did this Pagdi come from? And he said, Sarjerao Deshmukh Baroda, he had given it to his father as a wedding thing. And he said from that, the tradition of mandir came into existence. And I said to him, the only person who could wear mandir was the Peshwa himself and his diwan, and they were given by the Chhatrapati of Satara. When the Peshwaship was conferred, the Chhatrapati of Satara would send poshak, which is the garb, the dress, and the headgear and a bucket. I don't know what is the purpose of bucket, but there is something called Ward Diaries, who was contemporary of the time. He was a courtier in Peshwa time. He has written diaries, and in that diary there is mention of the garb, mandir, and the bucket given to Nana Sahib Peshwa and his diwan, who was Bhau Sahib's father. After his Bhau Sahib's father passed away, Bhau Sahib became diwan, so he must have received mandir as well. So, although Gaikwads cannot give mandir to anybody, it is a Gaikwadi. He cannot give because he doesn't have honor to wear. Only the Peshwa and his diwan had that honor. So this headgear came from Baroda in 1925. And talking about the wealth, Bhau Sahib had no wealth. He was a prisoner. And but there's a letter of 1765, October 1765 in Peshwa Daftar. It's very cryptic, very, they don't even identify who it is addressed to and who is the writer. So they don't say anything about it. But in that letter, they had prepared saranza, means the equipment, and 50,000 rupees hundi, which was to be sent to Nasik. And in my opinion, probably they were going to release Bhau Sahib at that time only. But it didn't happen. So when after his second arrest, they must have given him enough funds and forced him into the exile in Gujarat. So it's not that he saved something at Panipat. Panipat, they didn't have money. Marathas didn't have money. And they traveled through the friendly territory, so they couldn't even collect taxes. So there are a lot of issues. The administrator in Delhi, Govindpal Bundele, he crossed Bhau Sahib and Peshwa. When Peshwa would ask him for funds, he would say Bhau Sahib is asking for funds. When Bhau Sahib asked for funds, he would tell him that Peshwa is demanding the funds. So this kind of things were there. Marathas didn't have money. That's why they were out of food. There was no fodder for cattle. The cattle started dying. The disease started spreading in the Maratha camp at Panipat. Anybody else?
Have you painted your thesis in a printed format so that people who are interested or the journalists to come and access and read it? And how big is it?
Okay. My first submission to the scrutiny committee was 550 plus pages. So I said to my guide, even I'm getting confused, I can't read this. And so we went through it again and brought it down to 400 and some 45 pages. It's still too big. Now, after the fact, I'm trying to read it. I'm getting confused too. So I'm rewriting. I'm rewriting with some more information, new data, and I've completed about 8 to 10 articles. I want to do 5 or 7 more to complete the story. Next slide.
Go back to the basics.
I just have one suggestion. Why not you convert this into a book?
Yes.
A long way, in educating the people, especially an ignorant person like me.
See, I'm going to do that. I'll be publishing this book. But to be honest, I've done 3 books. One on Ramayana, a fact or fiction. The other one is Johar, history of Mewar. And the third one is 96K, the Supreme Court. This is the history of Maharashtra, those centered on the Marathas. And there's no readership. Nobody wants to read. People don't buy books these days. And but still, I'm going to publish this book once it's done. Cannot hear. It's in English. My thesis is in English.
To come back to current times, based on the conversation we had earlier, can you give us some details about the jacket that you're wearing?
Ashok is asking me about the source of this vest I'm wearing. This was given to me by Baba Saheb Purandare, a phenomenal historian of great reputation. He was awarded Padma Bhushan recently. So he had given this to me about 12 to 15 years ago. So for today's occasion, I thought this is a fitting event, and I decided to wear it. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be there, and or even later we can talk. So I'm going to hand over to Pratibha.
I think it's time to. Time for me to say thank you all. Then we can go ahead and eat. So thanks all of you for coming, and it makes a lot of difference. It makes us feel so good. And I'm talking on behalf of all, Sarjerao, Mayur, and Khalid. We thank you for coming. And the most important thing I want to tell you, Sarjerao's Ph.D. is great, but I for the first time learned how to write Ph.D. Because the spelling I didn't know how it was written, I learned that when I went for vacation. I don't want to say that, we have a young couple here who helped us a lot. I know thank you starts right from Ranjan, and because of that, Ranjan's search was so busy doing all this, I was getting enough time to go around and do other things too. So that was there. The couple who is there is Vishal and Vedika. Vishal is sitting right here, Vedika is right there. And they are the ones who have come for a few weekends to work with Sarjerao to give the slideshow and to help him out. Vedika is the one who loves history, so you can imagine how the conversations must be going at her home. And he has really fallen into her steps, he's following it. But for me, after being married with Sarjerao, how many years, Sarju? 44? I still can't get it. So that's it. And thank you, Ranjan, thank you, Neela, thank you, my sister Nilaka, who helped so Sarjerao could do his studies while she did all the other chores of the house, and gave him free time so he could read and write and all that. And thanks to everybody, thanks to all of you for coming. We all have our ups and downs. You all have been with us. We all have the ups and downs, but we are there for each other, and that's what counts. And I'm happy that you are all there for us. Thank you.
When I was coming here, you put him in the basement. Somebody's car and he had spent it finally done. So, congratulations.
Yeah.